Hello and welcome back to your favorite yet unsolicited corner of the internet.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
The main story tonight is, of course, again about the EU. You know that fun club where 27 countries agree on the shape of a banana. And in this case, we're specifically talking about a scandal that's hit the EU and is rocking the EU's diplomatic world. And if you haven't heard about this, buckle up because it's getting doozy. It involves a prestigious academy and a tender. Not Tinder, okay? Tender, not Tinder. And a former EU bigwig in hot water. Okay, let's set the stage. The EU decided to create something called the EU Diplomatic Academy. Think of it as Hogwarts, but for wannabe ambassadors. Minus the magic, plus PowerPoint presentations on policy. And this academy put a 1 million contract for someone to run this academy. And who wins the golden ticket? Or in this case, Hedwig, you know, the owl. I said Hogwarts, so you get the point. Anyway, it was the College of Europe in Bruges, which Bruges in Spain, by the way, translates to brujas, which translates in English to witches, which is also magic. I don't know where I'm going with this Hogwarts comparison, but stay with me. This College of Europe is an academy for future EU bureaucrats. No surprise here, because after all, College of Europe is the place to go for EU training. But here's the spicy part. Prosecutors think that the tender was as rigged as a FIFA World Cup draw. But instead of awarding penalties to Argentina, in this case, they leaked the answers to the exam or to the tender. Yes, they suspect someone leaked the answers to the exams ahead. In other words, this contest was rigged so that the college would win. That's right, a college teaching about diplomacy allegedly cheated on the entrance exam. Even Chancellor Palpatine would call that ironic. Now you ask, who would be behind all of this? Meet Federica Mogherini. She's basically EU royalty, all right? She is the former foreign policy chief. Just imagine the EU Secretary of State, but with more bureaucratic jargon and fewer flags on her podium. A few years ago, she took a top job in the College of Europe. By all accounts, a very respected figure. If this were a movie, she would be Dumbledore. But suddenly, plot twist. She's now accused of tender rigging. Belgian police raided her office and even her home. Picture that. One day you're mentoring young diplomats in defense against the dark arts. The next, you are literally part of the dark arts. And the cops are flipping through your books and through your IKEA cabinets looking for evidence. That's a fall from grace. However, in her defense, Mogherini was not the only one that did this. Also in the hot seat is Stefano Zanino, a name so Italian that it might as well be an espresso, but he's actually a high-flying diplomat. Zanino was the EEAS Secretary General. And we have already gone over this though. What is the EEAS? European External Action Service. Basically, he was a top civil servant when this got awarded. So prosecutors naturally think that he might have been the inside man. They even detained him for questioning. In Azkaban, probably. Basically, La Dolce Vita here whispered to the academy saying, "Psst, we're gonna pick you anyways, so might as well start picking up the trainers." We don't know for sure, but that's the gist of the suspicion. And when this news broke, Brussels lost its mind. Again. I'm talking shock, gossip, the whole Eurodrama. These are people that usually get excited with policy papers and white papers. And now they have an actual scandal, or should I say another one. We'll get to that in a moment. And you rarely see shock and Brussels in the same sentence, unless maybe someone forgot to serve non-vegan croissants in a meeting or something like that. To give you an idea, Mogherini was so well known, it's as if your headmaster, Dumbledore, got caught leaking the exam answers. This cuts deep. Of course, Mogherini denies everything. She basically said, "I have done nothing wrong. The truth will come out." Her lawyer even used the words transparent, clear, and serene to describe her behavior under questioning. Serene? I don't know about you, but if you've been grilled by the policeman for 10 hours, probably serene is not the vibe. Unless you know the questions ahead. Anyway, Mogherini did something that no politician likes to do. She resigned. Poof, gone. And she stepped down as the head of College of Europe. She basically said, "I am quitting to uphold the same fairness I've always preached for." which is a classy way of saying, believe me, I'm innocent, but I will fall on the sword for this institution. It's like if a captain quits a boat, but double checks the quality of the lifeboats before doing so. And Sanino, the EU Commission told him to go on vacation until he retires in a few weeks, which he was already set to retire in his defense. And they told him, start your retirement early, go think about what you did and never come back. Let's talk about the reactions, shall we? Because they are, first off, EU politicians. The left-wing politicians in the parliament immediately started screaming, I told you so. They have been clamoring for an EU ethics body for years now. And this scandal was like Christmas morning. One MEP, Manon Aubry, said that the credibility of the institutions are at stake, and I happen to agree. She's not wrong. The credibility of the institutions, the College of Europe and the EAS, right now is wobbling like jelly on a roller coaster. They're demanding emergency debates, inquiry committee, and possibly a ritual to cleanse the EAS. Anything to show that they are tough on corruption. Unless, of course, it comes from a party you are friends with and that party happens to be in power in Spain. But that's for another day.
Okay. All right. I'm putting cases on all you. You think you can do this to me? You will be playing basketball in Pelican Bay when I get finished with you.
It's almost fun to see how everyone competes to see who's most outraged. How dare she do this? Honestly, if indignation was an Olympic sport, EU politicians would win gold every single time. Then we have Eva Kaili. Do you remember her? If not, I will explain. She was the Greek MEP that was involved in the Qatar scandal. She was involved in Tendergate with allegedly a suitcase from the Gulf country. She's also under investigation. Kylie pops up and says, get this, the Mogherini probe shows that Belgium is not safe for Italians. Ma'am, with all due respect, you were literally caught with cash, literally in your underwear drawer. And your defense is basically saying that Belgium is racist against the Italians? That is bold. Take some balls. I mean, nice try, but it's the equivalent of Al Capone saying that the IRS is targeting Italians. She even called it Operation Targeting Italy, which I'm sure made very honest Italian politicians facepalm instantly and say, Madonna. Okay, but what about internationally? Of course, the United States couldn't resist the dig. And what did the Americans say? Well, Christopher Landau, a Deputy Secretary of State, basically tweeted this. Hey, remember when Mogherini called Cuba a one-party democracy? And look, now she's in trouble. Ouch. That's the diplomatic equivalent of saying karma is a... It's also slightly off topic. But hey, he took the shot. Here's the thing, American diplomats have long thought that Mogherini is too friendly with regimes such as Cuba. So you can almost hear the smugness in DC. Europe maybe should start focusing less in being friendly with dictators and start cleaning their own act. The scandal, ironically, gave them the opportunity to do exactly this. And Russia and China loving it. State media over there are like, he was corrupted by fraud once more. You get Russian commentators all over this. It's gold for them. And the next time the EU criticizes anyone, those being criticized can perfectly point out at this scandal. Oh, we're corrupt. Look at your fancy diplomatic school. Monsieur Pot Calling Kettle. Now you might think that this is a little bit niche. After all, why does it matter? Here's why, and I'm gonna drop the comedic act for a while now. The EU holds itself as a model of good governance. They literally lecture other countries. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, their officials might be playing with the rules. It's like a dentist with rotten teeth. Not a good look. I mean, the EU has been lecturing Ukraine now about its corruption and government. And now we see this coming from the very top. This is beyond ironic, like I said before. It's borderline hypocritical. And the broader point here is that this is not an isolated case by any means. It's starting to develop into a pattern. The EU has had quite some scandals recently. Qatargate, with the bag of cash and influence, a Huawei lobbying scandal, and now Tendergate. It's almost as if Brussels is trying to set a record for the most self-inflicted wounds. And each time we hear promises, we will tighten ethics rules. We will create a watchdog. Lessons will be learned. And yet here we are again. And at some point we have to ask ourselves,
how many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
I love the young people.
so what happens next? Well, the investigation continues. Mogherini and friends could face trial in Belgium, and if found guilty, even jail time. That is rare for Eurocrats. Usually the worst thing they face is a scolding and a lost pension. But EPPO, the new EU prosecutor, is playing hardball, and credit where credit is due. The fact that the EU body is actually charging EU VIPs is progress. And the EU is already scrambling to address the issue. There's talk of beefing up procurement oversight. Maybe, I don't know, double-checking procurements and tenders when they involve ex-officials, or requiring an independent monitor whenever a contract of certain size is awarded. Will that help? Possibly. But here's the thing. Rules are as good as the people following them. And if someone at the very top starts bending them, it's hard to stop it. Unless you have a culture that says, no, this is not okay, and you face consequences when you get caught. At the end of the day, this scandal has implications to EU citizens' trust. And I get it. The EU stuff can feel very distant and technocratic. But when you see headline after headline of officials misbehaving, it erodes the belief in these institutions. This continent is full of people saying that Brussels is a swamp. And to be fair, they kind of have a point with scandals like these. But the institutions are full of good-hearted people working for all of us. So unless you want more people to keep saying that, the EU has to take this seriously. So let me leave you just with a thought. Integrity and transparency are not just buzzwords. They're the glue holding together this entire European project. The EU's power is not just economic or regulatory. It's credibility. And if the EU leaders want to keep preaching about democracy and the rule of law, they must hold themselves to their own standards. This means no secret handshakes, no cozy insider deals, because every time they slip, someone from outside could say, see, they're no better. The diplomatic saga, yes, is embarrassing, but it's also an opportunity. The EU can and must prove capable of self-correction. And I'm not talking only about omnibuses. Investigate, prosecute, punish, reform. Show the world that nobody, not even a former high representative with a wall full of awards, unlike this one, is above accountability. If they do that, the EU actually becomes stronger. If not, well, we might be open to EU Scandal 3, coming soon to a newsfeed near you. In the meantime, Europe should maybe consider the old saying that sunlight is the best disinfectant. Shine it in every corner, especially the forgotten, dusty tender files, which say discounts for friends and family. Because if you don't, the only winners are the ones that are looking to tear the EU down. And I don't think that any of us, not even a one-party democracy like Cuba, wants that. Thank you and good night. If you like what I say, try to look me up. If you don't like what I say, try to lock me up. Until then, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.